Good morning, attention all. We will be going live in 3 minutes. Hi, good morning. Miss Bailey, can you quickly turn on your camera for me? Calling Miss Bailey.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, good. We're seeing you and we're hearing you. Thank you. All right. So ready. Miss Thomas, we're about to go live. Calling Miss Thomas. Calling Miss Thomas. Okay, we're gonna go live without testing her. I'm asking Miss Clausel, Mr. Legara, and Mr. Chambliss to please turn on your camera, just your camera. Okay, thank you. Professor Ura, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
A very, very good morning to everybody today, both here in this room at the Hilton Hotel and people online. It's a really great pleasure for me to be here today to see these 6 fellows at the end of their first year graduating. It's been such a pleasure interacting with you and being with you. And I'd really like to first start off by congratulating you on reaching the end of this year and graduating. As I must say, it's been a strange couple of years. As I brushed off my suit this morning, I bought out something that was from 2019. And I was very pleased to see that I could still fit into my trousers. So that was really good after COVID. So a special greeting to a few people who are with us today. We have people here and we have people online. The very important people who are funding this project, the European Union. I'd like to especially greet Mr. Jose Lagara and Ms. Donna Gittens. I'd like to also greet Dean Chambliss and Audriana Thomas from PAHO, who are coordinating this project. A special greeting to people from CARFA, especially Joyce and John, who's with us today. I'd also like to greet members of the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus, the deans, heads and staff who are listening in today, and of course the UE Open campus who are collaborating on this project. And critical also to this whole project, I'd like to also greet people from our partner organizations, the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, the 5 Cs, who have really supported us with the marketing of this particular program today. The Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, SEDEMA, the Windward Islands Research and Education Foundation, WINDREF in Grenada, the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology, and Earth Nurse, Earth Medic. For all their support during this year and in future years, thank you very much. And it's very nice to see you here today. A special greeting to Professor Emeritus Lawrence Carrington, his wife Cecile and family. Thank you very much for coming today, and we'll hear more later about the fellowship which is named after you. I'd like to greet Miss Renee Atwell, who is a CARICOM Youth Ambassador from Trinidad and Tobago, who'll be talking about the youth program. Thank you, Renee, for coming today. Also, critically and most important, the 6 fellows, the cohort of 6 fellows who are graduating today. And we do have one, or we will have one incoming fellow with us today in the 2002-2003 cohort. Specially invited guests who are present here and online, and members of the media. Welcome today. So we start off the program today by having a few welcome remarks from some of the people that have played a critical role in this fellowship, and we hope will continue to play a critical role going forward. So I'd like to invite first Dr. James Hospitalis from Earth Nurse, Earth Medic to say a few words. Thank you, James.
Good morning. Thank you, Chris. Good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to welcome you and say a few words at this graduation event. In my journey to found Earth Medic and Earth Nurse, I had something of an epiphany moment in 2016 at a conference when Professor Michael Taylor presented climate science downsized to the Caribbean, that we were in for hotter, drier weather, more monster storms, and inundations of rain. And I remember thinking, oh my God, health professionals need to know this. But at that time, there was little training available appropriate to the Caribbean. And in his keynote address to our conference last year, Professor Taylor made a strong case that health professionals are natural climate mitigation champions, because climate mitigation is good for health. So your training is addressing an important gap, and you have a job to advocate for the health of people and planet for all of us. Each of you has unique skills. You're in a unique context. You have unique contacts. Together, you're a force to be reckoned with. And I hope perhaps you will join our Caribbean Climate Justice and Health Initiative that we're in the process of planning. Climate and health is a big agenda with a need for many leaders, ministries of health, in primary care, in hospital, in academia, in the community. Each of you is poised to make a valuable contribution to what literally is a life or death effort for people and for many, many other creatures on God's earth. I hope the training will empower you to act and to mobilize others to join the fight. Now, you should know, if you don't already, that leadership can sometimes be a lonely business. If you're the one with an idea and you're pushing it and everybody else doesn't see it yet, it can be tough. In the past year, I have spoken to CEOs of banks, presidents of medical associations, deans of medical schools in our region, CEOs of chambers of commerce, permanent secretaries and ministries of health. Climate change is not on the agenda yet. I can tell you that. It isn't really. Not the people know it, hear the phrase, but they don't really know how it translates. The recent CARICOM Chief Medical Officers meeting held in this hotel did not have climate change on the agenda, despite our heads of government's utterances, 1.5 to stay alive, WHO, Lancet, and all the other learned journals that say this is the number one threat. So there'll be times when you may feel a little discouraged, but that's what leaders have to do. You have to soldier on in the face of disappointment. In so doing, you have a lot of resources in yourselves, in UE, in PAHO, in Earth Medic and Earth Nurse. We're focused on mobilizing health professionals to address the climate crisis. Perhaps some of you can help us with country chapters that we plan to start later this year. In closing, I invite you to think of 2030, 96 months from now. And you have to give an interview to your national TV or Kana or CBU. What are you going to say that you did in the last 96 months that made a difference, that moved the needle on climate change and health? So with these few words, I wish you all the best in your continuing journey and look forward to working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, James. I'd now like to introduce three people who are going to be talking to us online, giving brief greetings. Mrs. Shemaine Clausel from the 5 Cs in Belize, Mr. Dean Chambliss from PAHO, Mr. Jose Lagara from the EU.
Okay, good morning, all, and I offer warm greetings on behalf of the Executive Director of the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center here in Belize. The center is pleased to be a part of this activity, and we offer our hearty congratulations to the graduates of this fellowship program. We take the opportunity as well to congratulate Professor Ura and his team for driving this initiative and seeing it to a successful conclusion. Indeed, the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine, and the Pan-American Health Organization, the EU, all need to be acknowledged for their recognition of and support for the critical importance of climate change and health. This is also extended, of course, to other collaborators who have supported this initiative in some form or fashion and will continue to do so, and namely SEDEMA, CIMH, WINDREP, Earth Nurse, Earth Medic, and CARFA. To the graduates, the conclusion of this program creates expectations. We will all now look forward to stronger advocacy and robust application of data to illustrate the linkages between climate science and health impacts. Stronger evidence will go beyond mere creation of awareness, but will provide a basis for more effective decision-making and guidance for policies and investments in the health sector. And going forward, therefore, you will have a critical role to play. From the climate change side, we provide the science to help scale down the data to practical application for this region. But what we provide then needs to be applied to the various critical sectors to help map out the potential impacts. And that is where you come in. You will need to help the health sector become more resilient to the indirect and direct impacts of a changing climate. And this can only be driven from within. You as professionals who are intimate with the realities, the challenges, priorities, resources, drivers, and barriers will then be able to guide, movement in this direction. As a first cohort of this program, you will form the nucleus of this intention. Your efforts will determine how we judge its long-term success. We want you to have impact in your initiatives and to inspire others to join you and contribute to what should become a growing body of knowledge. You are trailblazers, and on behalf of the Center, I wish you every success in your efforts in climate change and health going forward. In closing, I wish to express, on behalf of the Center, our pleasure at working collaboratively with our sister, regional, and international agencies and entities in support of our common objective to improve the lives and well-being of the people of this region. Thank you.
Professor Ora, I take it that I shall go ahead and begin? Unless I hear otherwise, I'll continue. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and good morning to the first cohort of the UE Climate Change and Health Leaders Fellowship Training Program, as well as to all speakers and attendees. We often think of climate change as a future threat, but I would like to quote young climate activist Anissa Khan. Climate change isn't something in the future. That narrative is fundamentally flawed because there are millions impacted and so many displaced already. That is the new inconvenient truth that no one wants to hear, end quote. High rates of natural disasters, hurricanes, floods, droughts are not far off possibilities, but a present reality we must confront right now here in the Caribbean. The people who live in our countries are caught in the crosshairs of a changing climate. In this context of urgency, I am pleased to deliver welcoming remarks at the summative workshop for the first cohort of the Climate Change and Health Leaders Fellowship Training Program. You are a part of our frontline response to reduce the negative impacts of climate change on health. The fellowship being implemented by UE is one aspect of the EU CARICOM Climate Change and Health Project. It aims to build strong, effective climate change and health leadership in the region. For this fellowship, in addition to the passion needed to make a difference, the requirements include skills and knowledge at the national and regional levels to address climate change and health from the One Health perspective. It is our hope that at the end of this 5-year project, we will have fostered a group of well-trained and empowered Caribbean leaders who can advocate for interdisciplinary approaches to adapting to and mitigating the effects of climate change on our health. The first cohort hailed from the Bahamas, Barbados, Haiti, Suriname, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I am pleased to see that the next cohort has already been identified and will run from June of this year to May of 2023. It will see participation from Antigua and Barbuda, Belize, Cuba, Dominica, the Dominican Republic, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Trinidad and Tobago. I am told that once again, it is a strong and diverse group, which we so vitally need. Allow me to reiterate, climate change is not merely an environmental problem. It poses a threat to human, animal, agricultural, as well as environmental health. It impacts social and economic development, particularly in countries with small and vulnerable economies. For example, in 2017, the Caribbean experienced one of the most active hurricane seasons to date. Hurricane Irma, a Category 5 storm, brought strong winds and rains to the Caribbean islands of Anguilla, Barbuda, BVI, St. Martin, and Turks and Caicos, before making its way toward the northern coast of Cuba. Less than 2 weeks later, Hurricane Maria caused major destruction in Dominica, leaving 31 people dead, with a massive impact on the island's health infrastructure. This fellowship program is therefore seeking to support the decisive aspects of planning and prevention needed to be taken by climate change leaders and practitioners. This is the end of a chapter in your story, but at the same time, is just beginning. We trust that you will take the knowledge you have gained and make use of the networks you have developed to make a positive impact in your region, your countries, and your communities. Finally, I would like to thank the European Union for its unwavering support and financial contribution, as well as CARIFORUM, the CARICOM Secretariat, and its institutions for providing regional leadership and facilitating the placement of the fellows and internships. Last, but certainly not least, I thank the lecturers and the administration of the University of the West Indies, with specific mention of Professor Christopher Ora for his academic leadership and practical administration of the Fellows cohort in 2021 and 2022. I look forward not only to the informative proceedings today, but to building on the success of this trailblazing first cohort of the Climate Change and Health Leadership Fellowship Training Program. Thank you very much.
So I understand that I'm the next one. Dear friends, dear fellows, protocol thankfully observed. I'm pleased to join you today on behalf of the European Union. I want to begin by offering our sincere congratulations to the first cohort of fellows on their successful completion of the Climate and Health Leadership Fellowship Program. We also take this opportunity to acknowledge the excellent work by the University of the West Indies in collaboration with the PAHO project implementation team on the design and execution of this comprehensive program, which supports capacity development to the region, to position countries to respond to regional and global climate and health challenges. The University of West Indies has once again highlighted its continued relevance as an important partner in designing regional solutions that can effectively address regional challenges. The UE has continued to support human capacity development in a way that adequately considers the cultural context and national and regional priorities to effectively support the continued development of robust leadership in the Caribbean. The fellows who had participated in this initiative are sons and daughters of the Caribbean soil. From diverse backgrounds and varying degrees of familiarity with the climate and health space, they have received training but have also contributed to the program through the sharing of their own knowledge and lived experiences with their peers. These avenues that provide opportunities for not only training but for knowledge exchange and peer-to-peer learning are key to ensuring regional efforts to address the complex challenges and compounded vulnerabilities that characterize healthcare systems in the Caribbean are successful. It is the principle of shared knowledge and common ambition to drive inclusive development for all, which is the foundation of which the European Union functions and at the core of the long and successful cooperation between our two regions. We are pleased to support efforts that encourage this approach and which is key to sustainable and impactful development. Indeed, it is the approach that is reflected in the EU Green Deal, which supports European ambitions for emissions reductions, and it's now one of the key guiding policies that guide our external actions and support. We also take this moment to acknowledge the other regional organizations supporting the implementation of the larger EU-funded climate and health initiative, under which fellowship falls the CARICOM, CARFA, the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, CIDIMA, CIMH, CARDI, etc. All them supported with other specific European Union funded projects. The provision of internships opportunities for the fellows will support a wider understanding of their role in the climate action, integration of health considerations in climate policy, and priorities at the national and regional level in improving climate resilience in the health sector. We anticipate that this knowledge will improve the engagement of these critical organizations in each country and equip these organizations to better meet the needs of the member states. We look forward to the continuation of this program and to be hearing the experiences of the fellows who have been able to benefit from this initiative. It is our hope that this type of program can be replicated in other key development areas in the region, and that countries and health sectors within each participating country will reap the benefits of the program in advancing ongoing efforts to realize the climate ambitions. I close by reiterating the commitment of the European Union to this initiative and to the broader work in the region to build resilience in the health sector and to the impacts of climate change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jose Lagara. The European Union plays such an important role in funding this kind of work, and I'd really like to take the opportunity of thanking you for providing that funding, which is critical to us. We couldn't do it without you, so thank you so much. And thank you very much to Mr. Gene Chambliss from PAHO, the coordinating partner on this project, and also to Mrs. Shemaine Clausel for your words. The collaboration with the 5 Cs is really critical for this project going forward. So I'd like to now introduce the UE Vice Chancellor, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, who will say a few words.
I remember very well giving my greetings at the opening workshop for this fellowship program 12 months ago. And it gives me great pleasure being able to say a few words today on the day that these 6 fellows will graduate after successfully completing this 12-month fellowship program. The University of the West Indies is actualizing the vision of a one UWI collaborative initiative through cross-campus fellowships such as this, delivered and implemented by experts across the 5 campuses in the UWI system and other key stakeholders from across our region. The vision is to develop these fellowships into a true one UWI offering where the certificates are issued through the open campus. It gives me great pleasure to see, as part of this collaborative initiative and as a first collaboration, the UWI St. Augustine campus engaging with the open campus to launch the inaugural Professor Lawrence Carrington Fellowship Program, a curriculum-directed program which can be used to build capacity throughout the Caribbean region in key areas of development. The fellowship is designed for early to mid-career professionals so that they may become long-standing champions in their chosen field and mentor others upon completion. It is also a great pleasure to have Professor Lawrence Carrington and his wife and his family in our presence today. So I'm very happy to see these 6 fellows from Haiti, Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Bahamas and Suriname, here with us today to receive their certificates after putting in so much work over the past year. I congratulate them heartily on their achievement and wish them all the very best as they go back to their countries and put what they have learned into practice. I also look forward to seeing many future cohorts of fellows from across the region graduating from this program and making real change in the area of climate change and health, which is so much needed at our current time. Congratulations to our fellows, and I wish you all the best in your future journeys and your contributions to Caribbean development. Thank you and bless you.
Thank you very much, Sir Hilary, for those words. I'd like to also just greet briefly a few people who've come today, which really emphasize the multidisciplinarity of this fellowship. We have Dr. Joyce St. John, who is the Executive Director of CARICOM, who's here today. CARICOM are playing a critical role in supporting this fellowship. We also have representatives from the UE, from the UE faculties of law. We have representatives from the UE faculties of science and technology, and the representatives from the UE faculty of food and agriculture. So thank you guys for coming. It's really important that we have a one UE approach here, and we get all the disciplines involved. As I'll explain when I talk a little bit about the fellowship, this One Health, this multidisciplinarity, collaborative type approach is so critical going forward. We all need to push this fellowship forward together. So I'd like to just take a few minutes just to explain a little bit about what we're doing with the fellowship. Let me just put my slides on. Have I got them? Are they on the slides? I think I might have. Great. Let's go back. Okay. So the real, as we heard from the remarks, this is a European Union funded project, and it's coordinated through PAHO. And critically, as you can see along the bottom, we have many collaborating organizations. I'd like to start off by saying, and giving a real thanks to our main facilitator on the project, who's sitting at the back there quietly, Professor Craig Stephen, who is really instrumental in getting this curriculum together and making this such a unique experience from our fellows. Really focusing on developing our fellows to be agents of change within our region. So thank you very much, Craig, for all your help with the fellowship. So as was said by Mr. Dean Chamblass earlier, this is part of a much bigger European Union funded project, which is strengthening Caribbean resilient climate, strengthening climate resilient health systems in the Caribbean. And there are various pillars to this project. And these include evidence, gathering evidence in measuring the health co-benefits of mitigation, which is being led, mitigation to climate change, which is being led by PAHO. Also work carried out on surveillance and risk monitoring, which is being led by CARFA and CMIH, planning and financing, developing the national adaptation plans and integrating health into those plans. And also from everybody, the most important thing, one of the most important things is communication, promoting awareness. But what we're doing and what we're doing here today is we're developing the people who are going to actually action this. We all know that we have many plans and policies and reports in place, which, let's face it, often go onto a shelf and don't get read and don't get implemented. So what we need in the Caribbean is local leaders, people who have the knowledge and skills to be able to take these plans, these policies off the shelves and help to implement them. And we know our problem from a point of view is we have a highly vulnerable populations. We've heard from people earlier. We know all the issues that climate change is going to affect us as regards health, extreme weather, the negative effects on food and water security, economic impacts, which is going to really stop us from attaining our sustainable development goals. So we need, as I say, to develop a cohort and network of climate change and health practitioners and leaders with the knowledge and skills to be able to affect that change. And as I said critically earlier, this needs to be an interdisciplinary approach, a One Health approach, because this is a systems-based project. And of course, we can't forget COVID in this situation, which is having such an effect on us. And we need to include linkages to the determinants of health and think about how we can learn, what we can bring out from COVID. So as we all hear, we need to build back better. So why run this fellowship program? So as I said, we need to empower professionals to make the change. So this is what we're here today. We see these 6 fellows here today who've been with us for a year, and hopefully they feel far more confident now to be able to go back to their home countries with the skills that they've learned to be able to start working with the people back home, to be able to initiate change and push forward some of the climate change and health agendas that they have in their countries. And we will be having future cohorts, so we'll be building networks as we go forward, networks of professionals, so they can support each other as they go forward in this critical area. I'm not going to talk too much about the fellowship program, but it is a part-time blended learning 12-month curriculum directed fellowship. And it's critical that we are targeting early to mid-career professionals who are in post, they're in a position to affect change. So we have to design the fellowship with this very much in mind. So we have introductory workshops at the start and at the end, and we have the summative workshop, which is going on now. And between that, we have weekly themed online sessions around different blocks, around important issues. And you can see them here. And critically, during the fellowship, we have a learning by doing approach in which the fellows, and they're going to be talking about it a little bit today, they implement projects so they can really, in the area of climate change in their home countries, and they lead workshops and symposia. And they also have the opportunity to visit one of the climate change and health CARICOM institutes that are partnering on the project. Let me just turn that on. Does that go? Okay, yes. So here we are today. We have our 6 fellows from Haiti. Sadly, Kenzie wasn't able to make it, but we'll hear from him today. Barbados, Bahamas, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia and Suriname. And these guys are all from different sectors. They have different skills. So they bring this multidisciplinary perspective together to the fellowship. And I just wanted to spend just 1 or 2 minutes just talking about how we're going about this. So how do we maximize the learning opportunities for our fellows? Because we know we have experienced, knowledgeable, but extremely busy, sometimes stressed, adult learners here with little time on their hands. So we have to make sure we maximize the experience for them. This has to be a tailored program. So we have to make the learning as fun as possible and as useful as possible to them, because they have to come back week after week and get excited and interested with what they're learning. They're busy, busy people. We also need to enable them to build relationships and friendships so they can take those relationships and friendships forward and support each other as they move forward. Critically as well, this has to be an adaptively managed curriculum, because these guys have a lot of knowledge and skills themselves. They're going to be learning from each other as they move forward, a lot of peer-to-peer learning. So we have to talk to them and see what areas they want us to focus on. What areas do we need to really focus on that they want us to critically focus on. We need to include local and regional experts from our region, so we ground it in the Caribbean experiences. So experiences are grounded in local realities, and we need to tie the learning to tangible, real-world issues right here in the Caribbean. That's getting experts from our region in the different areas. So as I said earlier, they're carrying out a project. So these are solving real problems. This is a learning by doing approach. So as we're going through the fellowship, we're maximizing opportunities for the fellows to practice what they've learned. We're maximizing opportunities for the peer-to-peer learning from each other. And we're maximizing opportunities for them to learn through shared experiences. So that's what I wanted to say about, just to give you a little bit of background to what these guys have been through over the last year. But the most important thing is to hear from them. about what they've gained from the fellowship. And so I just wanted to say just before that, we do have a website which has just been launched. You can see the link here. So please go onto our website. You can see information on the fellowship, information on the fellows. And as was said earlier by Mr. Chambliss, I think we have our second cohort of fellows starting next week. And the applications for the third cohort of fellows will be open in November 2022. So if any of you out there online are thinking that fellowship seems like something I would like to do, please contact us and apply for the next cohort. So I'd like to stop there and thank you for the opportunity to give you a bit of information on the fellowship. I'd now like to hand over to a short video, where the fellows have very briefly talked a little bit about their experiences. So I'll hand over to the video.
I heard about the UWI Climate Change Leaders Fellowship Program from a friend of mine who sent me a very simple WhatsApp message. Hey, this looks like you. I saved it, I did my research, and I loved exactly what I saw online. I submitted my application, I was shortlisted, and the interesting thing is the day of my interview was the morning after the first explosive eruption of the Lassifré volcano in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Despite what was happening here in St. Vincent, I was committed to the challenge. And so the team in Trinidad supported all the efforts in accommodating me for my interview that morning. A few weeks later, I received an email that I was successful in my application and I was selected to be one of the first representatives for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We started the program, and from the onset, you felt the love and the connection from the team. They did not just ensure that they got their targets and their indicators for the fellowship, but they catered to me in a very specific way that I never imagined I would be able to do in any other fellowship, particularly this one. I must say that my facilitators, Craig and Chris, and even the program coordinator, Stacy, they did everything that they could have done to accommodate us. All of us enrolled in the fellowship program worked a full-time job during the COVID-19 pandemic with our families, our friends, our health, good times and bad times. But we were all committed to one thing, getting what we set out for in this program and making it to the end. Now that we are here, the fellowship has allowed me to communicate more effectively in a particular space where climate change and health is absolutely relevant. It has also helped to enhance my ability to see that health is not just only for health, and that climate change and health is not just only a health issue, but the integration of all the sectors involved could be just what we need to get the results. It has allowed me to discuss it with leaders, with ministers, even the policymakers right here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As a graduate of the program, I'm looking forward for all the opportunities that come. I'm looking forward to sharing all the opportunities that may also come my way and also help to navigate in this space. While I am no specialist in climate change, I do consider myself as one of the driving forces and aspiring leaders in tackling climate change and health issues in the region.
So there's a slight glitch with the video because Shanika is not the only fellow, and there's another 5. But what we'll do is we'll try and get back to the video, and we can hear from the others. Apologies for that. So I will introduce the fellows who will come up here and just give you a flavour of their experience. And it gives me a real great pleasure to first introduce Dr. William Hamilton from the Bahamas. William, please come up and say a few words. Thank you very much.
Good morning to our distinguished guests, both in-house and virtually, and my fellow graduates. My name is Dr. William Hamilton. I am a medical physician in the Bahamas, working in the Department of Public Health. Experience is the best teacher, and the worst experiences teach the best lessons. September 1st, 2019 was one of those experiences for me, when Hurricane Dorian made landfall in Marsh Harbor, Abaco. Having experienced the firsthand impacts of a climate-driven storm has further ignited my passion to be a voice in the climate change and health arena. I thought applying for this fellowship program would provide me with the knowledge I needed to solidify my experience. However, I am happy to say that this fellowship has done far more than that. The fellowship has given me a greater appreciation for the interconnectedness of climate change. The beauty of the fellowship is that it encompasses a cadre of professionals with one common goal of improving leadership in climate change around the region. The importance of networking, breaking down silos, and most importantly, intersectoral collaboration was achieved among fellows through our weekly discourse with experts on various subject matters. Over the past year, as a result of the connections made through the fellowship, I have given remarks at regional climate change forums, played a role in the human interest story about the impacts of climate change on mental health and the overall affairs related to climate change in the region, gave a lecture on hurricanes at the Climate Change and Health Responders course, which is spearheaded by the Global Consortium on Climate Change and Health Education, Columbia University, Earth Medic, Earth Nurse, and the Caribbean Institute of Meteorology. Special thanks to Dr. James Hospitalis for that invitation. Have been asked to chair two groups at the Ministry of Health and Wellness in the Bahamas on climate change and health, focused on leadership and mentorship for physician groups. I was selected as the 2022 Global Youth Climate Network Ambassador for the Bahamas. And through this platform, I intend to focus some of my efforts on educating our youth on climate change matters. Speaking of youth, today actually closes the entries for the Youth Video Climate Change competition that I've initiated through this fellowship. And I want to publicly thank all of my sponsors. Currently, I am also in discussion with the University of the West Indies School of Clinical Medicine and Research in the Bahamas for implementation of climate change and health modules within their curriculum for medical students. I've had the opportunity to spend a week at the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, where I was able to get an in-depth appreciation of what CDEMA is all about from the Executive Director, Ms. Liz Riley, and her team. While in Barbados, I had the opportunity to visit with the principal of CIMH, Dr. David Farrell, and also Ms. Carrie Hines, who is the director of the Department of Emergency Management, Mrs. Donna Giddens and Jose Lagara from the European Union as well. Two of the main deliverables of the fellowship, I have had the opportunity to do a conference where I educated, sensitized, and raised awareness to disaster preparedness in the era of climate change. And last but not least, conducted a research project focused on assessing disaster preparedness, education, and training in healthcare workers. It has been quite a busy year, to say the least. I could not put a price on the knowledge and skills learned over the year. When counseling patients, I now spend time speaking to them on climate change and the impacts that it has on health. I continue to work with the climate change team at the ministry as we work on various projects of national importance, such as our Health National Adaptation Plan. I have definitely grown professionally and will continue to use what I've learned to be an asset to my community, country, and region at large. To Stacy, Craig, Chris, Steve, Shanika, Kim, Stephanie, and Kenzie, I say thank you, and let us continue to work together to build climate change leadership in the region.
Thank you so much, William, whose all his clothes are still in Piarco Airport. So he did an amazing job with getting to the shop at 8 o'clock this morning and looking so smart today. A really innovative gentleman. Thank you very much, William. So I'd like to now introduce our second fellow from Barbados. Mr. Steve Daniel, please come up and say a few words. Thank you, Steve.
Good morning, everyone, distinguished guests, and all those visiting with us online. I am really honored to be here today. And I really have to say, this experience has been far beyond what I really was expecting in the beginning. But I applied for this fellowship for one primary reason, and that is to lend support to the health agenda through learning from my peers, facilitators, and contributors to the program. In addition to this, building collaborative capacity was an aim for outcome, which I viewed not only as necessary, but critical to any meaningful effort at building capacity to climate change. In Barbados, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, we have developed an appreciation for a particular saying, which states that good health and access to good health care should not be our basic human rights, which should not be compromised by a changing climate and its impacts. This concern is not unique to any one particular Caribbean country. It is a shared concern among all of us. It's across all territories because we have the commonality among us with respect to the potential impacts. We are small island developing states, of course, and we all have limited resources. So the only way that we could seriously aim at getting health on the agenda and ensuring that the impacts of the changing climate does not have the impacts that we don't want, it has to be done through collaboration. It has to be done through partnerships. And this fellowship has been extremely timely in that respect. Consequently, I'll have to say my experiences with the program far exceeded my expectations, as the skills and experiences delivered by my peers and partners fill many of my own technical and coordinating gaps. Among some of the most meaningful learning points came through my peers themselves. When William speaks about his experiences as an emergency care technician in Bahamas and the role he played with respect to the hurricane, I mean, these are things that it meant so much to everyone among us. When Stephanie speaks about in Suriname, the flooding, the water quality issues, and the innovative things she has to do to get through to the people in the Far Oak communities and in the interior of Suriname. These, again, are experiences that are new to persons like myself. Shanika, for example, is, in my mind, a master at health communication. And, you know what I mean? And I learned so much from people like her. Dr. Kim, for instance, now is an inspiration to me based on the work she does with the youth. And I mean, I commend her for the level of patience that she seems to have and the way she gets herself involved with young people and driving the climate change agenda. And of course, there's Kenzie in Haiti. He basically was a tremendous inspiration to all of us because he would have been faced with tremendous challenges that I have to view as unique to him. And to see the spirit with which he handled himself while still trying to push the climate change agenda, it was really an inspiration to see. So ultimately, we've come to a place where we really do depend upon each other now. It's not only about the technical side of it, but we've basically become friends. And through these friendships, I think that it is basically what is needed for us to really make a meaningful impact on any efforts at building climate change adaptation or resilience. We simply cannot do it in silos. And I have to thank my facilitators. I want to thank Craig. I want to thank Chris and Stacy. They did a fantastic job, as well as all of the invited guests who would have contributed to this experience that we had. And with that, I just look forward to the work that we're going to do in the future. I look forward to the partners continuing to support us and partnering with us going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steve. I think really epitomized the strengths of this fellowship is it's all about peer-to-peer learning in these kind of fellowships when we have the expertise amongst us, and facilitating that peer-to-peer learning is critical. I would like to now introduce Dr. Kim Newton-James from St. Lucia, who will now come up and say a few words. Thank you, Kim.
I bid a pleasant good morning to everyone that's here, all our specially invited guests, both here in person and online. And special greetings to my Executive Director of the Caribbean Public Health Agency, Dr. Joyce St. John, who has been such an amazing and wonderful support. And, she is present today, she's here today. Also to the project coordinators, Chris, Craig, Stacy, very good support as well. And to my fellow fellowship fellows, it has been an outstanding experience, just sharing the virtual space with you guys, as well as actual space, because we did have opportunities to meet face to face, and that in itself, just put everything together. So that was a great experience. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so you all know why we're here today at this Climate Change and Health Leaders Fellowship Program, for us to share our experience with you all. So I'm gonna get right into it. So I will start off first by just giving you a little insight into me, a little bit about me. So I am at present the officer in charge and also the technical officer for Environmental Health and Sustainable Development Department at the Caribbean Public Health Agency. And I did not start off the fellowship in the role of officer in charge. And I must say this experience, has helped me in that, and you'll hear a lot more about it later. I'm also a environmental toxicologist by profession, and also a science educator. And my passion is for anything environment, and this is why I jumped to this opportunity. One of the reasons why I enjoy working with the youth as well, and I am interested in getting people to see that link between the environment and public health. Okay, wonderful. So why I became interested in this fellowship program. So from the work point of view, I saw it as an opportunity to strengthen CAFA's capacity in the region, and in terms of us being able to manage climate change risk and the threat to regional health systems. Also to support member states to manage environmental determinants of health when it comes to climate change and the impacts of climate change. And in doing that, to contribute to health systems, making them more resilient, because that's one of the things that this program was equipping us to do. And in so doing, to reduce things like waterborne diseases as well as food and vector-borne diseases. So this was one of the focus for me in terms of work, just from a work point of view. And in terms of me and my personal development, I saw this as an opportunity to be a leader of change. A leader of change in empowering and inspiring and motivating people to change. This is why for my project, the focus was on the youth, because I work with the youth, I enjoy interacting with them, and I believe that, you know, they are the future, they are the innovators, they're gonna inherit everything that we leave behind, right? So it is now on us to equip the youth with these tools. So my objective, my goal was to change attitudes, change behaviors, and most of all, to mobilize these young people, to mobilize the youth into action. And I saw this program as a vehicle to helping me to achieve this. And a big part of it also is helping them to understand that link to climate change and to health impacts. Climate change to health. So what did I gain from this experience, right? To me, I could put everything in the context of everything that I learned, all the virtual sessions, all the interaction learning from my peers, all the experts, and all of these experience, I was able to put this into action in my project. And I think that is important because this for me is authentic learning, is research and action, is getting things done. So this was a big part of it for me. And among the main things that I learned was identifying the champions for changing, the champions for the cause in the youth, in the ministries. And, you know, you have to have these people on your side. You have to have these people on board. Also, communication skills, very important. Meeting people where they are. And this is something not only for the climate change agenda, for COVID, you know, getting people on board, not trying to convince people that your way is the way, but more so bringing them on board, understanding them, having them share their views and their ideas and taking it from there. So meeting them at that point. Another thing for me, and a big thing for me, is the leadership, being that adaptive leadership, being that inclusive, leading with people, letting, you know, the people you work with guide this sort of leadership, because the leadership is not about the leader, it's about the people and bringing the people on board with you. So very big for me as well. And then finally, getting that balance between the bottom-up approach and the top-down approach. The bottom-up, you know, the grassroots, getting the people involved, getting the youth involved, getting them excited. But then you have to understand, okay, yes, you need that driving force. You need to push them. But you also need to have those champions in the right places to move it along even further. So these were important lessons for me. And again, I will say, this to me was authentic learning. And I commend the coordinators for making this such an authentic experience for me. And finally, how did this fellowship help me and will continue to help me? I am now part of this network of leaders, well equipped, to work towards solutions. And notice I said to work towards solutions, because that's it. And to work together, to work as this network to build this more resilient climate change agenda, climate resilient Caribbean. So for me, I am now energized and to continue to work for this sort of change. I'm optimistic about the future and engaging the youth and officials. I'm motivated to lead that change that is needed to get what we need done and to see the sort of change that we want. And most of all, I am challenged to make that difference and to ensure that there is sustainability with our network here. And then when we have the others, you know, they're going to be part of this network. And I say that to say that, yes, part of this network to get started on this journey and to continue our journey. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kim. And I think we need a pat on the back as a selection committee, because you can see the enthusiasm of our fellows. And I'd like to make a special thank you to everybody who was in that selection committee. I see Professor Donald Simeon here today, who was part of that selection committee. So it's absolutely critical that we get the right people, and we certainly have got the right people, and we hope to continue to get the right people going forward so this network can really build positively in the future. So I would now like to introduce or ask Ms. Shanika John. Oh, you're already here, Shanika, to say a few words. Thank you, Shanika.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shanika John from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and it is indeed a pleasure to have all of you here with us, those of you who are viewing online and those of you who are here in person with us. When I applied for the fellowship in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, I kept asking myself over and over, are you sure? You don't want to start it and then drop out. You don't want to go into it, can't handle it. Are you sure? But the interesting thing is that when I started the fellowship, the support that I received from my Ministry of Health in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and by extension, the government, and even from our course coordinator, Stacy, who started with me to help me get through every little detail, every process, was so amazing that you didn't feel pressured, you didn't feel the need to quit, you didn't feel the need to drop out. And more importantly, as I started to interact with the course coordinators and those persons who were directly involved, I felt more and more that I was in the right place. So we got through all the details, all the documentation stuff. And then I got an email from Craig, and I want to quote him. He said, "It is important for you not to look at this fellowship as an online course." And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Online course. Because we're online, most of it because of COVID, etc. And he said, what it is at its core is an organized way for all of you to learn from each other so that you are better able to make change. And today, that's one of the most significant parts of us being together. And I assure you would have heard that from all of the fellows. Another interesting part that Craig sent in his email, that very first email, he said, I work on building capacity to create what I like to call specialized journalists. They are people who have a depth of knowledge in their own field, as well as generalized skills to bring people and information together to make more effective, efficient, and sustainable change. And then I said, you're in the right place, Shanika. And today, when I look back at everything that we have gone through over the last year, we have lost persons, we have family members who've been sick, we've gained a goddaughter during this entire process. It is definitely an enriched process that we could never ask for. The fellowship itself, for me in particular, has helped to widen my scope as a health promotion officer. Like him, when I started the fellowship, I was a health promotion officer within the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Environment in St. Vincent. And today I am in an acting capacity as the Chief Health Promotion Officer. And that is a position that could evoke change within the ministry where climate change and health. Timing is everything. Don't underestimate why you are here, why you are placed in certain positions. And even for us as fellows, the connection that we have gained from learning from each other has been very, very rewarding. And I want to thank all of those who have funded this initiative, who continue to support this initiative. And I think this is definitely something that needs to be zooming at the country level, more specifically, so we can have a wider group of advocates. In particular, for my project, I looked at really just looking at the readiness situation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines as it relates to climate change. It was a dual role for me because one, it helped me to get that quick snapshot of the climate change situation in St. Vincent. And because I'm in a position where I can actually be part of the discussion of climate change and health, that was a good orientation. but it also helped me to enter into that regional community where I can now contribute towards the conversation towards climate change and health with other stakeholders. And that is something that I appreciated. If I was not a part of this fellowship, I would not have been able to achieve. I want to thank program coordinators, Stacy, Chris, and Craig, the Ministry of Health in Vincent and the Grenadines, my Chief Medical Officer, my Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Roger Duncan, and the entire core team who has supported me throughout this entire process. I thank you very much, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Shanika. So Stephanie, it's now your turn. So I'd like to introduce to you Stephanie Chukalan from Suriname, who will say a few words.
Good morning. It's a pleasure for me to be here with everybody. Welcome to our specially invited guests both here and online. I'm Stephanie Chukalan from Suriname. In Suriname, I'm the head of the Environmental Inspectorate at the Bureau of Public Health, but I'm also leading the environmental health issues for the Ministry of Health in Suriname. I heard about this fellowship from different sides, both from the ministry, from friends, from colleagues from PAHO. And at first, like Shanika said, you had your doubts. I almost didn't apply. You have your doubts. Do I have the time to do this? Am I qualified enough to apply? Will I be selected? So it took a while. And then I had colleagues calling me. Have you applied yet? You better apply. Every day I get a text message or a call. Have you sent in your application? Have you written those essays? And even after you do that, you still have your doubts. Because it's such a big region. You have so many qualified people in the region. You don't know, do I fit the criteria to be part of this? So to me, it was a big surprise to get that email. You've been shortlisted and we'd like to do an interview with you. But even after the interview, I didn't really have my hopes up. So to be selected, for me, that first 4-day workshop was very interesting. At first, you think it's going to be intimidating. How am I going to find the time to do everything that needs to be done? But then you meet your other fellows, you meet the facilitators, and right away you kind of feel like you're part of a big family. So it really started, you start to roll into things, you get the exercises. And for me personally, the exercises I valued the most were the ones where you really learn from your peers. For example, we had an exercise where we had to do an interview from one of our colleague fellows, learn more about that person, what drives that person, and then come back and share that. And you learn so much about each other that if you don't get to do that, you have no idea what people are going through, what they're working on, what is their motivation to keep going. But also, it teaches you a valuable lesson in communication. So this program has allowed for me a way for personal reflection, but also personal growth. The skills that we get through this fellowship regarding leadership capacities, I have already been able to use in my daily job. I have now been able to reach a community that we've been trying to reach at the Bureau of Public Health for interventions before, but were not successful in. So you get the skills to break things down to a different level, meet the people where they are, build that trust relationship, and then work with them. Don't just impose your beliefs and what you want, but really go to them, have a good talk. What is important to them? What do they want? And then meet each other halfway and then work towards a shared goal. This fellowship has also allowed me to engage the health sector, to get involved in climate change and health in Suriname. Because before this fellowship, I had tried, almost given up, because the health sector is more focused on treating people, helping people. Climate change is not something that's a priority right now. So through this fellowship, you really get to engage the people, sensitize them, get them aware of why climate change is also very important for health, why health has a role to play in the issue of climate change. And really, I got the discussion started. What can we do? What are the impacts that the health sector is already experiencing related to climate change? And then for me, and I think the CAHO country office, that was a good starting point. We got a momentum going to really get the health sector involved so that we now can move on to the intersectoral workshops and meetings to work towards Health National Adaptation Plan for Suriname. So it was a good experience for me. Like my peers already said, we are now part of a network of professionals with different and varying professional expertise. But we can now work together, get advice from each other, rely on each other for support when you need it. And I'm hopeful that it's not for just this cohort, but that the fellow cohorts could join in it and we could be a part of a bigger network in the region so that we could work together and really be an agent for change, because that's really what we need. I would especially like to thank our facilitators, Craig and Chris and Stacy, who sometimes really had to almost put a stick on us. Craig even got a nickname, Cranky Craig. But sometimes we needed that push to get things going. Like Chris said, we are very busy people. We have a very busy career. So sometimes you need that push to just keep going and do the work. But it really, we're reaping the fruits of that now. And I believe that this definitely is not the end for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. No, it's definitely not the end, and we're working very hard to build in a sustainability element to this. So at the end of the EU-funded project, we can continue with future cohorts and really build this network, as Stephanie said, going forward. So I'd like now to introduce our sixth fellow, Dr. Kenzie Jean-Pierre from Haiti. As was said by Steve, Kenzie's had a difficult experience this year, but he's always come every Wednesday with an infectious smile on his face and with positive contributions towards the fellowship. And it's been a real pleasure having him involved. So I'd like to hand over now to Kenzie, who will say a few words from Haiti.
Hello, thank you, Chris, and thank you, everyone. I'm Dr. Kenzie Jean-Pierre, a healthcare specialist and also health management. I'm a specialist in healthcare management. I'm also a climate activist working with different NGOs in Haiti. Thank you all for your presence, and it is an honor for me to be here with you today. As you know, climate change represents one of the greatest challenges that our planet has been facing in the recent decades. It is our duty to act in order to strengthen the situation because the reactions are already impacting our present and threatening our future. And fortunately, we can still bypass the worst. The best way to prepare the future is to take the right action in the present. Acting today means reducing impact due to climate change. And as you know, I had an opportunity to be selected for this program. And this opportunity was offered by the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. True leadership is the ability to instill a vision in others and allow them to develop an automatism that constantly direct their behaviors toward a vision without the need to monitor them. This has been my motto throughout this year of training, rich in experience and lessons learned. It was also an opportunity for me to enhance and apply my leadership skills and to act on urgent problem in my country, which is waste management. As you know, human being has the bad habit of throwing things that could find a use for. But it becomes more serious when you're living in a country facing lack of resources. In Haiti, waste management has not always been a priority. Being a less advanced country and having lack of adequate management policy, the waste does not undergo appropriate treatment despite its harmfulness to the health and to the environment. Healthcare waste does not escape this as well, which often end up in areas where open burning and inadequate incineration are practiced. Some practices whose incidents are harmful for the neighboring population and have tendency to increase the greenhouse effect. So my main objective during this program was and still to advocate for climate responsible healthcare waste management in Haiti in order to reduce health sector contribution to greenhouse effect and to promote climate resilient healthcare waste management in Haiti. My method was an evaluator approach, which consists in making a round trip of information between the community and the stakeholders. Fruitful exchanges had shed light on the problems resulting from current practice. Implementing the project was not easy for me in Haiti. I had to face many hardships, such as one of my relatives was hospitalized for COVID-19, our president assassinations, the earthquake that followed shortly after, and the general insecurity. But as it said, victory without risk is a victory without glory. And my wish for Haiti has always been less red zones and more green zone. In Haiti, it's not common to address a problem concerning the health sector by first questioning the victim and not the representative of such sector. Hopefully, we did it thanks to the program. In an inclusive approach, several sectors of civil society were invited to take part in the discussion to share their experience and thought about healthcare waste management in Haiti by different activities such as workshop, survey, consultation, symposium. I also managed to set up a local organization, the Observatory on Health and Climate in Haiti, which brings together people from different backgrounds, aiming to generate local information on climate and health, identify the most vulnerable people, reinforce adaptation capacity, and take effective action. If climate change should remind us one thing, is that during disasters, there's neither white or black, neither rich nor poor, neither intellectual nor ignorant, but only victims. But by focusing so much on our difference, we used to forget what should bring us together. Climate change is another occasion to get together, and I learned it from this program. Bringing people together will be my driving force for all my future endeavors, and I really, really thank everyone that was involved in this program. Thank you very much.
Very much, Kenzie, as I think the word inspirational was mentioned. I'd like to now go back to the video, hopefully, which finished a bit prematurely. If it's ready, we will start where it left off. And are we okay with that? Great.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Shirikalam. I'm the Climate Change and Health Leaders Fellow from Suriname. I applied to this fellowship program due to my interest in the relationship between our environment and our health. I've learned a lot this year, and one of the key takeaways for me is to celebrate the small wins along the way. You can have big plans and big goals, but don't get frustrated when you don't reach it all at once. Just celebrate every step along the way that you achieve something that leads you towards your goal. The end of this year of the fellowship program won't be the end for me. I will definitely keep going with what I have learned. And one of the things I'm willing to take on is to work with partners here in Suriname on the development of the Health National Adaptation Plan so we can be better prepared for the impacts on climate change here in Suriname.
The Climate Change and Health Leaders Fellowship has done a tremendous amount to transform my perspective and approach to this battle against climate change. The protection of human health is one of the top priorities in this fight against climate change. However, the battle cannot be fought within the health sector alone. Through this fellowship, I've been able to work with professionals across a wide range of sectors, including finance, agriculture, coastal zone management, water resources, wastewater management, waste management, and environmental protection or preservation. These sectors play a significant role in terms of protecting not only human health, but the resources that are critical to the services that the health sector relies upon. As a result of this, I encourage any young professional who has aspirations to impacting upon policy to participate in the Leaders Fellowship. It will be extremely rewarding and is of a valuable asset to our fight against climate change.
So what stood out for me was the rich virtual sessions I shared with the other fellows and the opportunity to apply the new knowledge to my project. It is one thing to learn about climate change and health facts, effective communication, reaching people where they are, and being that adaptive leader. But being able to apply these lessons in a real-world context to my project made this experience authentic, meaningful, as well as rewarding. It is not all gloom and doom, but it's so easy to feel that everything is lost. However, the enthusiasm of the young people I worked with on my project really invigorated me and energized me, and this experience made me more optimistic for the future.
Experience is the best teacher, and the worst experiences teach the best lessons. Having experienced the firsthand impacts of Hurricane Dorian, a climate-driven storm, has further ignited my passion to be a voice in the climate change and health arena. I thought that this fellowship program would provide me with knowledge to solidify my experience. However, this fellowship has done far more than that. This fellowship has given me a greater appreciation for the interconnectedness of climate change. The beauty of the fellowship encompasses a cadre of professionals with one common goal of improving leadership in climate change. The importance of networking, breaking down silos, and most importantly, intersectoral collaboration was achieved among fellows through our weekly discourse with experts on various subject matters. The knowledge and skills learned over the year have been invaluable, and I have definitely grown professionally and will continue to use what I have learned to be an asset to my community, country, and the region at large.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Kenzie Jean-Pierre from Haiti. And since my medical studies, I've always been a climate activist. That's why I enrolled the program on health leadership and climate change. And this program allowed me not only to acquire new knowledge on health and climate, but also to develop my leadership skills by different activities. And thanks to this program, I also managed to set up the Asian Observatory on Climate Change and Health. And This program helped me to see the climate change as an opportunity, not only as a threat, but also as an opportunity to do good things together. And today, I'm glad to be part of this great Caribbean community professional leaders working on health and climate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for that. So I talked about the project a little bit as a whole at the start, and you saw when we had the pillar on leadership, there was also CARICOM, the CARICOM youth ambassadors, and CARICOM are really promoting the youth within our region. So this is absolutely critical, and as we heard from Kim, this is something that we're really trying to push through the fellowship program, and to link in with the Caribbean Youth Ambassador Program, which is currently ongoing. And it's a great pleasure today to have Miss Rennie Atwell, who supported one of our online sessions early, who's a young lawyer from Trinidad and Tobago. And she is a Caribbean Youth Ambassador on the program, and she's coming to talk to us today so we can hear a little bit more about this really important program. So thank you very much, Rennie.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much to the Climate Change and Health Fellowship team for inviting the CARICOM Youth Ambassadors to be part of the fellowship experience. Of course, we have interacted with the fellows previously on engaging young persons in climate change and health. And we were quite excited to see Dr. Hamilton's project being promoted on LinkedIn on young persons through video competition in climate change. And we think it's extremely important for young persons to continue to be engaged in climate change and health. And of course, I am here today to present very briefly on the CARICOM Youth Ambassador Program. Of course, the CAP remains a critical partner of the fellows, and we have encouraged our CYA, to reach out to the fellows as they execute climate change and health projects in various CARICOM member states. So I'm not sure if the presentation is available. Very briefly, I will just give a brief overview of the CAP and the roles and responsibilities of the CARICOM Youth Ambassadors. So as we have here an image of some of the past CYAs, pre-COVID, of course, and this picture is a very accurate representation of what the CARICOM Youth Ambassador Program is about. CARICOM has dedicated to ensuring that young persons remain involved in the integration movement because, of course, young persons are critical partners to ensuring continuity in integration and continuity in the integration process throughout the region. So we have young persons from all CARICOM member states and associate states. They are eligible for participation in the program. And so it ensures that young persons participate in integration, and what they essentially do is they act as advocates for CARICOM. They help to educate young persons on what CARICOM is, what the CSME is, and what are some of the opportunities for young persons within the CARICOM space. And of course, this program is facilitated at the regional level by the Secretariat. However, the day-to-day runnings of the program is the responsibility of the ministries responsible for youth at the local level in various member states. And of course, we have here the vision and mission of the program, which both point to young persons being very knowledgeable of CARICOM. And several reports have been done throughout the years. And what it has been found is that there are young persons who just know about the general idea of what CARICOM is, but they don't see the importance of CARICOM. They don't see how young persons can be involved in integration and what are some of the opportunities available for youth within the integration movement. And so CARICOM Youth Ambassadors essentially help to promote this mission to ensure that young persons develop a sense of regional identity and pride. And of course, all member states and associate states have the ability to select one male and one female representative to serve in the program. And here we have CYAs from St. Lucia, Barbados, and Trinidad and Tobago. As I alluded to before, in terms of the roles and responsibilities of CARICOM Youth Ambassadors, they serve a dual role, basically. Firstly, they act as advocates for CARICOM. And secondly, what they help do is bring the issues affecting young persons to the attention of heads of government. So CARICOM youth ambassadors will liaise with stakeholders, for example, the national youth councils, find out what are the issues that affect young persons and bring it to the attention of heads of government. So on a more practical level, what you would find is CYAs sitting on CARICOM technical working groups and steering committees, providing a general perspective on how can you ensure that young persons are involved when you are developing policy for the region? It can be policy in general for all persons within the region, or it could be policy specific to Caribbean young persons. And so CYAs help to build awareness of young persons on salient matters. They encourage participation, of course, in the integration movement. And they also advise policymakers on how different programs and policies can be developed for young persons within the region. And these are some of the guiding principles for CYAs that member states use when they are selecting CYAs. Most member states select CYAs on an annual basis. However, you do have some countries that allow their CYAs to serve for 2 to 3 years. And these are some of the things that they look at when their selecting committee is in the process of deciding who will be the next CARICOM youth ambassadors. In terms of the achievement of the CARICOM Youth Ambassador Program, of course, we have been able to work with various stakeholders on a regional and international level to ensure that young persons remain engaged in the process and that they are provided with opportunities to work on issues affecting the region. So we have been able to make significant progress in areas such as HIV and AIDS. We have been able to present policy papers at various regional institutions and organizations. And also, of course, now we are working together with PAHO to execute our climate change and health projects as well. And this brings me to a general overview of just 2 of the projects that the CYAs will be executing throughout the region. Of course, all CYAs have been trained in climate change and health over the past year. So on an annual level, the Secretariat ensures that CARICOM Youth Ambassadors focus on one specific area. And this year, well, 2021 to 2022, our focus would have been on climate change and health. And so all participating CYAs are expected to execute a climate change and health project. So they will be liaising with the graduating fellows, the incoming ones, as well as various technical officers who would be able to provide young persons with expertise and training in this area. So in Trinidad and Tobago, we have an Eco Restorers project. It's a recycling project that will allow young persons to learn about climate change and health, recycling, and the impact that that can have on the environment. So we intend to engage 20 young persons based in Tobago to help execute this project, and we will be collaborating with the Recycling, Waste and Logistics Limited, which will be the collaborating partner for our project here in Trinidad and Tobago. St. Kitts and Nevis will also execute a composting project where they would engage in 10 young persons to engage in a composting experience where they would learn about composting, climate change and health, and the impacts that that can have. And the background behind these projects, or the purpose behind them, is to ensure that young persons who participate in the projects can now become advocates for climate change and health. So it really ties in to ensure that we keep young persons engaged with critical issues that affect young persons in the region and to decide how they can develop practical solutions to these issues. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for engaging with me, and congratulations to the fellows.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Renee, as it's really critical that we bring the youth into the conversation. And we look forward in the fellowship program to interacting with the Caribbean youth ambassadors as they develop their projects in the years to come. So we can integrate the 2 programs, which would be really nice. So, right. So it moves on. We move on now to the graduation, the delivery of certificates to the fellows at the end of this year. And I would like to introduce again Professor Lawrence Carrington, who is here today, who is going to give out the certificates. So, as was mentioned by Sir Hilary Beckles, this is a new fellowship program for the UWI, and it's named after Professor Carrington for all his fantastic, brilliant work that he did throughout his career at the UWI. And this is part of a group of fellowships specifically designed for these kind of professionals we see in front of us today. So it's not like undergraduate or postgraduate type fellowships. These are fellowships specifically targeted for professionals to affect change within their area. So we have climate change and health fellows here, but there will be other fellowship programs in the future that will be developed in different themes under this program. So I just wanted to say a few words to introduce you to Professor Lawrence Carrington, as this is the inaugural first fellowship. I think it's important that we know who the man is and what he's done. So Lawrence Carrington here is an emeritus professor of Creole linguistics of the University of the West Indies. I won't say when he was born, but it was just a few years ago. You might get a few hints when I tell you about his career going forward, but he was awarded a development scholarship by the University of Trinidad and Tobago in 1959. So everybody's doing their maths now. And he pursued a degree in French at the University College of the West Indies, which was what the University of the West Indies was called when it started, and completed his doctoral degree in linguistics in 1968. As a member of the Faculty of Education at the UWI, his teaching, research and development work focused on the nature of Creole languages, the teaching of both English and Creole, as well as the expansion of literacy and effective education in Creole-speaking environments. He was elevated to professor in 1996, and having served repeatedly at the highest level of faculty administration, being head of department, vice dean, and dean, he was appointed in 1996 as director of the School of Continuing Studies. Between 2000 and 2007, he was pro-vice chancellor, responsible for the sector that was transformed under his leadership into the open campus of the UWI. And between 2009 and 2012, he functioned as vice chancellor of the University of Guyana and subsequently served as chair of its governance review committee. So during his career as a researcher in Creole linguistics, Professor Carrington produced scores of influential publications and academic papers and affected positively the lives of citizens in many Caribbean countries. He was a strong advocate for the use of foreign language teaching strategies, for the teaching of official languages across the region, and contributed to the enhancement of the education of Caribbean children in the metropolitan environments of London, New York, and Toronto through direct engagement with teachers and boards of education in those cities. Notably, he led the development of a common spelling system of French Creole of the Eastern Caribbean, including Trinidad, and edited a 600-page bilingual dictionary. Just imagine that, of St. Lucian. He was a founding member of the Society for Caribbean Linguistics. So Professor Carrington's public service has also included sitting as a representative of Trinidad and Tobago on the executive board of UNESCO between 1993 and 1997. And he was awarded the national honor of Trinidad and Tobago, the Charconia Gold, in 2019 for his contribution in the field of language and development. So I think that deserves a round of applause. And it's a really great pleasure, and thank you very much to Professor Carrington and his wife and his daughter Christine, who I know very well and work with, and her husband Axel. Thank you so much for coming down today to honor your dad, and thank you, Lawrence, for coming down and giving out the certificate. So I'd now like to invite you up on the stage. There's some stairs here. I know you didn't want to say anything really, but maybe just a couple of words would be nice. I always like to put these people on the spot. So thank you, Lawrence.
Thank you very much. A couple of words is all I will say. But I do have to thank you for your very ample introduction and to let you know that I'm very pleased to be associated with a theme of such immediate importance to our region and to our planet. We are in a fragile phase of human existence, and we live in a vulnerable area. We must mobilize all of our professional resources in this region, focus their competences, and support their efforts to achieve the goals of all sensible initiatives to cope with climate change and to achieve sustainable good health. I congratulate the fellows who have completed this program, and I wish you all success in your future efforts. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Professor Carrington. So we'd like to now invite the fellows to come up one by one. We'll just go over to the right here because there will be some photos. If you'd like to come up, I'd like to invite Dr. William Hamilton to come up first and receive your certificate. Okay. So I'd now like to invite to receive her certificate, so she can come up that way. I'd now like to invite up Mr. Steve Daniel. And now Stephanie Chukalam. And now Kim Newton-James, Dr. Kim Newton-James. And hopefully we have for Kenzie, we can try and get Kenzie on the screen. Is that possible? It's not possible to pass, sadly, to pass over a certificate online, but we'll do our best to simulate it as best we can. Is Kenzie there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Ah, there we go. So there we go.
Thank you, everyone.
Please keep your work going in Creole as well.
Oh, okay.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Carrington. So that brings us to the end of the graduation ceremony today. As I said, which is great. We're on time, which is very good. It only leaves me to say some thank yous to some people who are here and some people who are online for making this fellowship and this event such a great event and such a positive experience for all of us. Firstly, of course, the European Union for making this possible through their funding. They're extremely generous funders for us in the Caribbean region. So I'd really like to say a special thanks for them. I'd like to also thank the Open Campus, the UE Open Campus, who are strong collaborators on this project, and all our partners, some of them that you've heard today, the Pan American Health Organization, who are coordinating this project, PAHO. And it's a real pleasure working with PAHO on this project. They're great partners. But also the other CARICOM organizations that we've heard about today, the 5 Cs, and I'd like to say a special thank you to Chelsea Anthony and her team who've helped to market and support us with, especially over this event today that we're holding, in collaboration with them. And I'd also like to say thank you very much for the 5 Cs for being so positive in taking on 3 of our fellows for the visit that they had. 5 Cs put on a really great program for them. So we really look forward to continuing that collaboration with this. It's such an important institute in the region when it comes to climate change. So thank you very much for the 5 Cs for that. Also, SEDIMA, again, William talked about his visit to SEDIMA, which was a really productive visit, and I'd like to thank them for collaborating and supporting the fellowship going forward, and we hope we'll have your support going further beyond that. There's also Stephanie had the opportunity to go to WINREF in Grenada at St. George's and had a really productive visit there. And I'd like to thank Callum McPherson and his team at WINREF for supporting the fellowship and look forward to continuing that support. CARFA have been a constant support throughout, and I'd like to thank them and Dr. St. John for their support. And we hope in the future, when we get out of COVID, that some of our fellows will be able to come for their week-long visit to CARFA, because that would be great. I know it's very difficult this year with COVID, but hopefully in the future we'll all be able to take off our masks and start acting normally. Also, the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology are very integrated in this project, and as we heard from Earth Nurse, Earth Medic as well. This is critical for this fellowship, that we have this support and input from these CARICOM organizations. As we've heard, the fellows gain so much from their experiences, and we get people from these institutes that come and support our online sessions. I'd like to say a special thank you to the UE, to my Dean, Professor Terence Semangal, and a special word for Dr. Carla Georges, who is here today, my boss at the School of Veterinary Medicine at the UE, And it's really, you know, this is where I work, and it's great that I'm given the time to be able to really push forward this kind of work. And it's a pleasure to be working and pushing this forward out from the School of Veterinary Medicine at the UE. So thank you very much, Carla, for your support with that. I'd also like to thank Professor Donald Simeon because the fellowship is supported strongly through the Caribbean Health Systems Research and Development Center, which Professor Donald Simeon leads and directs. And Donald's a constant support, being on the selection committee. I know it's a lot of time. I'd like to thank all the other people that have been on the selection committee. Michelle Small Bartlett, who is supporting Rene in the Caribbean CYA program. Calais Philippe from the Bahamas, who has really played a very critical role in helping us with the fellowship program, and all the other people. I'd also like to say a special word for Dr. Jonathan Drury, who can't be with us today because he's moved on, but he was manager of the project for the first 2 years, and was a really positive and supportive in helping us to push the program forward. And now we're moving forward with Audriana Thomas, who's the next manager at PAHO, and we look forward to working very closely with Audriana as we move forward. So thank you very much to Jonathan and Audriana. And finally, getting to the end of this list, sorry, it's a bit long, but it is important to thank people. I'd like to say a special thanks again to Professor Craig Stephen for all his input into the fellowship, to the cohort, to you guys. It's been such a pleasure having this experience with you, and I look forward to maintaining our friendship and working with you as we move forward in this network. Thank you very much for being so positive. Thank you very much for coming to all the meetings and giving such great input. It really makes things the whole thing a pleasure to run. I'd like to thank all of you guys for attending. We do have a session this afternoon after lunch where the fellows will give a little bit more detail on their projects and their symposia. And I know some of you will be able to stay for that. Please stay if you can, and to hear a little bit more about their projects and their symposia in their countries, because they've all carried out some really, really meaningful, impactful work. And if you can, please stay and listen to that. I'd like to thank all people online, all the well-wishers, all the people who have joined us today online. And very importantly, as I said, the guys at the 5 Cs, Chelsea's team, but also Mrs. Wendy Maynard and her team who have made this possible today. Thank you so much, Wendy, who was here yesterday, public holiday in Trinidad, who's really supported from the start. And I'd really like to thank you for that. It's been a pleasure, as always, working with you. And I hope I've remembered everybody apart from, where is she? Stacey. She's probably doing something. Oh no, Stacey, thank you so much for all your help throughout the project and for making today possible. I know we were both up very late last night, going backwards and forwards, printing, and it wouldn't have been possible without Stacey's support and help, not only today, but throughout the whole fellowship. So thank you very much, Stacey. So I would like to invite all of you to have some lunch. I know there's some food available which hasn't really been ate, so please feel free to take it home with you if we haven't, because we do not want to see waste. You'll see there's no plastic in this room. We do not want to see food wasted. So please feel free, if it's not eaten, to take it away with you. Enjoy your lunch, and please, if you can, attend this afternoon and hear more from about the projects. We will be starting at 1:15 in this room. So thank you very much for attending, and have a good day.